much for everyone being here today. My name is Brianna Messenbring. I'm a clinical nutritionist with Aligned Modern Health. Today, we are going to be taking a deep dive into common nutrition trends, common diet trends for 2023 that patients may use to help jumpstart their health or weight loss journey in the new year. Now, a couple housekeeping things before we get started. I want to remind you that if you do have a question, to put it in the Q&A feature versus the chat feature. I'm going to be looking in the Q&A feature at the end of the call. I won't be looking in the chat feature. So make sure to put it in the Q&A bubble. And another thing to keep in mind is that this webinar is being recorded. So if you signed up, if you're here, if you want to rewatch this at a later time, you are going to have access after the call's all finished. So let's get started. If you are new to Aligned Modern Health, or maybe don't have a good idea about who we are and what we do, Aligned Modern Health is a full service integrative medicine practice that offers solutions to your most concerning health challenges. So we're really a practice of multiple practitioners, including chiropractors, physical rehab specialists. We have massage therapists on our team, acupuncture specialists, and also functional medicine and clinical nutrition practitioners. And we prize ourselves by really all working together to get to the root of your most concerning health problems. We really work together so that you can reach your fullest expression of health, whatever that means to you. And what's cool is that we truly do see a wide variety of patients, from people who get into car accidents, who might need chiropractic care, to your premenopausal woman who wants to understand her hormones and her body better. So this is me, Brianna Messenbring. As I said, I'm a clinical nutritionist with Aligned Modern Health. I do have a background in exercise science and massage therapy. Okay, so we are going to go over these 5 common diets and nutrition trends that patients might use to jumpstart their health. Now, we're not here to recommend any one of these dietary or cleanse strategies for you. We're really here to educate you on the pros and cons of each so that you can be informed and individual to make decisions on your own. We don't recommend or deny that any of these specialized diets or trends can be right for you. But if you are curious what may work for you in the new year, then I do invite you to stick around to the end when I will explain to you how you can talk with one of our doctors for a free consultation to discuss your health concerns. Let's first discuss the ketogenic diet. This diet was originally developed and is currently today primarily recommended to patients, specifically children with epilepsy, to reduce overall seizures in children. It's a diet that's characterized by high fat intake, moderate protein intake, and low carb intake. This type of dietary strategy actually puts your body into nutritional ketosis. So what's actually happening here is that your body is performing a metabolic switch. And what I mean by that is your body is switching from predominantly using glucose as an energy source to using ketones as an energy source. Let's talk a little bit about what constitutes kind of like the high fat, moderate protein, low carb. So I know when I talk about carbs and when my patients talk about carbs, we're kind of talking about different things, right? So my patients think carbs, they're like, oh yeah, like bread, pasta, pastries. And absolutely, that is a source of carbohydrate. But when I'm talking about carbs, I'm talking about excuse me, I'm talking about whole grains, I'm talking about beans and lentils and legumes. So this ketogenic type diet is actually decreasing those beneficial foods while prioritizing a higher fat consumption. Now, some patients take this as a free-for-all and they're just like, oh yeah, I can eat steaks and eggs and butter, stir butter in my coffee. But there's kind of a right way and a wrong way to do this diet, right? And I would say the steak and butter in your coffee might be the wrong way. We want to think about including healthy fats in the ketogenic style diet. And what this would look like is what's pictured on the screen here. You can see avocado, there's a salmon fillet to the right, nuts and seeds. This is primarily what I would want the majority of the fat intake on the ketogenic diet to look like. There are definitely some pros to the keto diet. So if you are somebody who's looking to jumpstart your weight loss, the keto diet can be a great way. Your initial weight loss on the keto diet is going to be from water. Ketones in the blood can actually act like a diuretic. So you're actually, kind of urinating out a lot of quote unquote water weight. It can help balance your blood sugar. And this is primarily because I'm just going to go back to the previous slide again, because we're reducing carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are the macronutrient group that have the biggest influence on what happens with your blood sugar. So if we're almost virtually eliminating a macronutrient group, carbs, that's going to stabilize your blood sugar. It can increase focus. This has something to do with the ketones crossing the blood-brain barrier. Your brain just really likes it. It's a pretty efficient fuel source. And of course, if you are a child with epilepsy, it could decrease kind of the seizure occurrences. Another benefit that's not on the screen is that the keto diet has also been shown to be beneficial for patients with certain neurological conditions, specifically conditions such as Alzheimer's disease. And there are some cons. So this diet isn't easy to do, especially if you are right now kind of on a standard American diet where the standard American is eating anywhere between 300 grams plus of carbohydrates per day. We would be asking you to decrease your carb intake to between 20 and 50 grams. So to put that into perspective, that's either a half a bagel or a full bagel. So quite a big difference there. You're also going to need to meal prep in order to stay compliant with the plan. If you are somebody who has a poor relationship with food, or if you are somebody who has disordered eating patterns or eating disorders, completely cutting out a carb group can actually influence negatively your relationship with food. As we talked about with this diet being so high in fat, if you're eating predominantly steak and eggs and butter, then this can increase your saturated fat intake. And we know that that correlates with an increase in heart disease. This diet wouldn't be for everybody, especially if you are allergic to nuts, or if you have gallbladder issues, your body wouldn't be able to break down and utilize all the fats that you're putting into it. There is a risk of dehydration, and this goes along with the ketones being a diuretic in the bloodstream. So it's actually going to make you urinate more often. So you risk dehydration. The high protein content can actually lead to constipation. And the last bullet point here, or the last couple rather, so risk of vitamin and mineral depletion. We are taking out carbohydrates. As I mentioned, this can be our fruits, this can be our vegetables, this can be our beans, our legumes. that food group, carbs specifically, is where a lot of our vitamins and minerals come from. So if we are virtually eliminating that from our diet, we risk certain vitamin and mineral depletions. And finally, when you know that you are in keto, some people experience what's called a keto flu, and it can manifest as symptoms similar to the flu. So your sleep might be disturbed. You might experience headaches. This can cause low energy and excessive thirst. So to wrap it up, keto can be great for initial weight loss, or if somebody who has Alzheimer's disease, or if you're a child with epilepsy. My general thoughts about keto are that it can be challenging to follow, but it can be done right. And I would definitely recommend to practice this style of diet under a licensed nutritionist who can help you maximize the nutrients while minimizing these cons that we just discussed. Whole30 is next. So Whole30 is kind of a classic elimination with a reintroduction style eating plan. What I mean by that is that you're going to go through a 30-day elimination phase. You're going to eliminate things like processed foods, sugar, alcohol, grains, dairy, beans, legumes, and all food additives. And food additives can include things like food colorings, guar gum, or just gums in general. They're typically used to thicken and bind foods together. High fructose corn syrup is a food additive, along with others. And you're focusing on whole, unprocessed foods, right? Fruits, vegetables, animal protein, nuts, healthy fats. What's important here with any style elimination diet, we are always having the intention to reintroduce foods back in the diet. Whole30 is cool because if you have a feeling that you might be reacting to a certain food, Whole30 is a great way that you yourself can start to uncover some of those food sensitivities. There are pros, right? If at any time you eat whole fruits and vegetables and just whole foods in general, you're going to boost the amount of anti-inflammatory compounds that are in our diet. And this can relate to reducing inflammation in the body. You might get some general weight loss with this style of plan from eliminating things like sugar and food additives. There's no weighing or measuring ingredients with Whole30, which I think a lot of people like. And something else, Whole30, there's a lot of community-based Whole30 programs that are out there. So that can be a pro, that you have community, you're doing it with friends or family. Let's see. And of course, there's no special products or supplements to purchase. You're just going to be cooking a lot of whole foods. There are cons. So really with all of these dietary plans, if you are somebody who has a poor relationship with food, or you're struggling with disordered eating or eating disorder patterns, anytime we take out a food group, that might perpetuate those conditions and those individuals. So I wouldn't recommend this for anybody with those sorts of problems that they're dealing with. It can be very restrictive. It can take extensive meal planning and prep work in order to make this diet work for you. If you are somebody who has an active social life, it can be challenging to follow if you go out to eat with friends or family a lot. It can be difficult to follow while you're eating out. One thing I don't like about this plan is that they are very strict. So if you cheat or kind of fall off plan, then you're encouraged to completely start the plan over. Something else that's kind of a learning curve for people is that this does require you learning what food additives are and like where you can find it on the ingredient list or the nutrition facts box. And if you are somebody who's addicted to sugar or alcohol, taking out those substances just kind of cold turkey can lead to withdrawal symptoms, so never good for anybody. And I'm just going to go back again for a second. So we are taking out grains, dairy, beans, legumes. And remember that I said that these are, several of these are plant-based options of protein sources for vegans and vegetarians. So it might not be suitable for that specific population. But to recap, I think Whole30 is great, especially if you have a sense that you might be sensitive to certain foods. This is something definitely that you can kind of do on your own, but the reintroduction phase can be really complicated. So if you need help working through the reintroduction phase, I would definitely recommend working with a licensed nutritionist to help you navigate that. Paleolithic eating, right? Definitely popular with the CrossFit group. If there's any CrossFitters here, hello. But it's similar to Whole30, but without a specific timeline. So if you're feeling really good on this plan, then you can continue to eat it. There's no like you have to stop at 12 weeks or after 30 days or anything. Similar to Whole30, it focuses on whole unprocessed foods that we think were eaten. That we think were eaten in the Paleolithic era. So this is some 2.5 million years ago, what we think our ancestors were eating around that time. And this is going to be nuts, seeds, fruits, vegetables, wild game that we hunted, and eggs. And it's going to eliminate foods that were introduced just about 10,000 years ago. So that includes things like dairy, beans, legumes, grains, alcohol, coffee. I know I just lost about half of you here, so sorry about that, and processed food. Pros are similar to Whole30. Anytime you eat a diet that's whole and unprocessed, you're going to get an uptick and boost in anti-inflammatory compounds. This can help with weight loss. It can reduce your chances of cardiovascular complications. It can help balance your blood sugar. As I mentioned before, there's no time period. So you can kind of stick with this indefinitely if you wanted to. And something I like about it is that it's not as strict as Whole30, so you can have like quote unquote cheat meals without needing to restart the program. So it gives you a little bit more lenience here. And there are definitely cons. So this is meat heavy. Again, if you are somebody who is vegetarian or vegan, this is not going to be appropriate for you because you're eating a lot of meat for your protein sources. I'm going to go back again. So we're taking out, again, beans, grains, legumes, and even dairy. So this is where a lot of our fiber resides. Fiber is needed to, we eat fiber pretty much to benefit our gut microbiome. So the impact on gut health remains unclear for the paleo style diet, because again, that's where we get a lot of the substrates for the bacteria in our guts. Being low in fiber, we risk becoming nutrient deficient in some nutrients, specifically vitamin C, magnesium, B vitamins, and selenium. And this wouldn't be suitable for people with kidney disease. And that's specifically because your kidneys can have a hard time filtering the metabolites from excessive protein breakdown. So to recap, I think paleo is an excellent option if you're looking for a dietary reset in the new year. I personally wouldn't recommend paleo being followed any longer than maybe three months at the most, because it's really the variety in our diet that gives the widest benefit and widest range of vitamins and minerals, and that comes from all foods, not just maybe like what our ancestors were eating 2.5 million years ago. Let's talk about intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is an eating style that's characterized by a period without eating. This might be a prolonged period without eating, and then a shortened window where we are going to be consuming all the calories that we would normally. What's cool about intermittent fasting is that there are multiple ways to implement this, and it's really based on your wants, needs, goals, and desires. Here's a couple of methods here to discuss. So one's called the 16-8 method, and another one is called the 5-2 plan. So the 16-8 method is characterized by fasting for 16 hours in your day and leaving a smaller time frame, leaving a smaller window of eating to just around 8 hours. So the easiest way to do this usually is just by extending that overnight fast. So we're going to stop eating maybe around 7, 8 p.m., going to sleep, hopefully, right, for 7, 8 hours through the night. And then once we wake up, we're just going to continue that fast a little bit longer through the morning into maybe early afternoon when we start eating. And then as you can see here from this chart, our window might be from 12 to 8 p.m. where we're eating, consuming regular calories. Then there's also the 5-2 plan, and this has you eat normally. So you're not restricting any calories if you are eating the standard American diet, if you're going through if you're going to fast food restaurants multiple times a day, whatever. This is saying that you can eat normally, how you normally do, 5 days out of the week, where 2 days you're going to significantly reduce your calories. So for the women or the people who identify as women on this webinar, you're going to want to consume maybe around 500 calories, and men, we're going to give you a gracious 100 extra calories. So you would be shooting for around 600 calories a day. Pros and cons with intermittent fasting. It can result in weight loss. We can get normalization of insulin levels if you're somebody who, if your body has trouble regulating your blood sugar, this could be beneficial for that. We can get a reduction of inflammation. Patients note that they even, that their bowel movements come a little bit easier. And this is just because you're giving your digestive system a longer break. And what happens is we have a mechanism in our body called the migrating motor complex. And you can think about this as an internal sweep. So it's kind of like sweeping out our intestines. And that rest in eating actually kind of activates that and can get your bowels moving. We also see reduction in risk of heart disease, and it can prolong life, which is what increased longevity means. I like this because it's easy to do, it's free, there's no special products to buy, and it doesn't restrict or eliminate entire food groups. But that can kind of be good and bad, right? So it doesn't restrict or eliminate entire food groups. But I don't like that because we know that eating a diet that's that's filled with whole foods like plants, fruits, nuts and seeds, legumes, whole grains. We know it's really, again, that a whole array of foods that give you the biggest benefit here. Cons. So a con is if you wake up hungry, but you're following or trying to stick with an intermittent fasting plan, then what you're doing can actually be harmful because you're kind of ignoring your body's normal cues, right? You wake up, oh, I'm hungry. well, I'm intermittent fasting, so I can't eat anything. So again, if you're somebody who has a poor relationship with food, or if you have disordered eating tendencies, then intermittent fasting and continuing to ignore or like suppress what your body is trying to tell you might not be good for you. The increases in fasting can make your blood sugar tank. And this is just added stress on the body, which can lead to lightheadedness, nausea, and fatigue. And again, I wouldn't want people with eating disorders or disordered eating patterns to follow this style diet. And I wouldn't want my menstruating females to follow this plan unless they had good blood sugar control. And we wouldn't want our pregnant ladies to follow intermittent fasting. So to wrap it up, intermittent fasting can be a great, easy, and cheap way for patients to start their health journey, as it can result in weight loss and overall increased energy. But I don't love how it's advertised as kind of continuing to eat whatever you want, right? We know that the standard American diet that's kind of riddled with high sugar, high carb load leads to a lot of inflammation and chronic health conditions that can be reversed or prevented by proper dietary strategies. Okay. Just a few more slides here. We need to talk about cleanses, detoxes, juicing. Oh my. We're going to be walking you through these because I know that this comes up a lot, and I know that you're going to have questions about this. So juice cleanses, juicing, you take a juicer, you throw fresh fruits, you throw whole fresh fruits, vegetables, maybe different herbs down the chute. And what happens is it extracts all the liquid from those items while kind of like throwing out the pulp. Throwing out pretty much the fiber. So what you're getting is just the liquid. This is what people consume. It can last anywhere from 3 days to 3 weeks. Now, it is high in vitamins and minerals, but it's deficient in our healthy fats and protein. So this can result in actually altered blood sugar control in your body. You might experience hypoglycemia, which is just low blood sugar. And this can result in you feeling hungry, feeling dizzy, getting agitated. If you're feeling hangry on a juice cleanse, that's not good. That's not good in any sort of sense. That just means that your body's having a pretty hard time regulating your blood sugar. Colon cleanses are, colon cleanses are a medically recommended cleanse that aims to flush out the colon in preparation for a colonoscopy. So this can actually be incredibly uncomfortable and unpleasant for most people. And I want you to know that there have actually been reports of deaths from people trying colon cleanses without being under medical supervision. So I would just highly caution anybody against this unless recommended by a qualified health professional. Liver detoxes. Okay. I want to pause here for a second and really, really educate and kind of hammer this in, because liver detoxes. Our livers were pretty much made to detox. So do you think that they need help kind of doing what its like main function is in the first place? I would say no. But here I'm here to educate you so you can be an educated consumer when it comes to these things. So I really believe that liver detoxes are a marketing ploy to get the unassuming consumer to buy into these products, right? So they're going to push purchasing detox kits or supplements that our liver already uses to detoxify different compounds. So what happens is there's multiple phases of detoxification in the liver, and each step, as you can see from this slide, requires a different set of nutrients. So these detox kits or supplement kits are actually going to contain the majority of what you see on the screen, in hopes that it'll kind of ramp up your liver's ability to detoxify. But if you are eating a whole foods diet, high in plants like vegetables, fruits, whole grains, beans, lentils, lean amounts of proteins, foods like that, your liver shouldn't need any help. Now, it is true that there can be some sort of like genetic hiccup, if you will, that can actually decrease your liver's ability to detoxify certain compounds, right? It's not like you have one genetic hiccup and your whole liver is just shot and like not going to do what it's going to do. No, it's going to be like kind of the dial's going to be turned down a little bit, and then we might need some supplements to help kind of kickstart or jumpstart your liver's ability to detoxify. But overall, if you're like a generally healthy person, this should be okay. And I would just encourage you to think twice before purchasing a detox kit. So generally, anytime you see the word cleanse, again, I would think twice before buying. If you are concerned about your liver health, of course, I would encourage you to contact your primary care doctor, or I would invite you to reach out for a free 15-minute call with somebody from our functional medicine team who can actually like go over labs with you and specifically talk to you about what your liver health is looking like overall. Okay, just a couple more slides, guys. Thank you so much for being here with me. So health is not just about the foods that we eat, but it's also how you move your body. It's how you rest your body. It's how you talk to your body. It's how you hydrate it, right? Health is multifaceted. It's not just the foods we put in. There's a lot more going on in human beings than just food in, kind of excrete it and then we go about our day. There's a lot more going on there. So out of all of the trends that we've talked about today, what I would say is if you just started with this slide, I think you'd be off to a really great start. So take these general tips for a healthier you in 2023 and apply them. Start applying them in 2023 right now. So general tips: avoid processed foods and added sugars, limit alcohol intake to no more than maybe 1 or 2 glasses per week, or alcoholic drinks per week. We want you to drink plenty of water. We generally recommend about half your body weight in ounces per day, more if you are my coffee drinkers. We want to replenish what we lost because coffee is also a diuretic. Generally incorporate color, right? Just kind of like you learned in grade school, eat the rainbow, right? It's really the diverse array of fruits and vegetables and color that bring the most vitamins and minerals and nutrients into our diet. You can think about practicing deep breathing or starting a meditation practice. Make time for rest, relaxation, recovery. What does that look like for you? Do you give yourself time to just kind of be, just kind of relax, right? We also want you to make time for quality sleep and make it consistent. So if your aim is to go to bed at 11 each night, wake up at 7, make that consistent throughout the week and even on weekends. You can't just like cheat and make up sleep on the weekends, okay? And then finally, we need to find some movement that you enjoy. It doesn't have to be high intensity. It just needs to be something that you enjoy. That can be having dance competitions in your living room. It can mean doing jumping jacks, body weight activities, going for walks with your dog. It doesn't have to be intense at all, okay? And that's it. I really appreciate everyone taking their afternoon and joining us here today. I see that there are a few questions in the Q&A chat feature, so I will get to those shortly. And I would encourage you, if you're interested in anything that we discussed about here today, or if you just have general health questions, to contact our service team for a free 15-minute consultation. You can contact us by calling the number on your screen or by visiting us at alignedmodernhealth.com, where you can search for a clinic location that is closest to your location. Okay, and I will go ahead and start the Q&A section now. When I find a question, I am going to read it and then do my best to answer it. A participant asked, I like to do a yearly, approximately 30-day cleanse. Do you have any cleanses that you recommend? I feel like for a lot of these questions, you're not going to like my answer. I would say, what exactly, I would say, what exactly does that cleanse look like? And also, what's your goal, right? I think it really depends on what your overall goal is. I think if you just kind of stick to what we talked about here, eating a whole foods diet that includes fruits, vegetables, grains, legumes, I think that would be really, really great for anybody. And you would also have to take into account what does your diet look like for the rest of the year, right? If it's kind of the standard American high sugar or high carb diet, then I feel like you can't go wrong if you just add in more whole foods for those 30 days. Somebody asked, what would a 500-calorie diet look like on a fast? So I'm guessing that you're referring to the 5-2 plan that we discussed. So what would a 500-calorie diet look like? That's a good question. You could probably let it look like whatever you wanted to, right? A couple things that come to my mind is our smoothies. You can easily make maybe between a 250 or 300 calorie smoothie a couple times a day and make sure you're getting protein in it. You might use a protein powder or add beans to it for some protein. You can add even like regular milk if you do okay with dairy. What else? You could use like cocoa powder to make it chocolatey. I'm always a fan of that classic chocolate peanut butter combination. So that could be a good way. Another thing you could do is oatmeal, right? Oats, and you can mix an egg in there for extra protein. Again, kind of with the chocolate peanut butter thing, whatever flavor profile kind of tickles your fancy, I think would totally be appropriate. Another participant asked, how do you feel about putting any one of these diets in combination with one another? For example, intermittent fasting and paleo. I feel like everything in nutrition, it needs to be in context, right? And also like what your goals are. It's hard to speak just kind of generally because everyone's goals are going to be different. It's going to depend on if you're male or female. So, I mean, overall, I guess I could probably say if you have found a combination that you feel really good on, then I would say stick with it. If it's working for you and you're getting benefit from it, why not? I don't think there's really a right or a wrong answer there. It's just kind of what feels good for you. Somebody asked, it seems like the main point of intermittent fasting is to curb late night eating. Is that why it's successful for many people? That could be a contributing factor. Honestly, it does. I think it's also because it can overall reduce your consumption of total calories, because your eating window is shortened. So you're going from an eating window of, let's say, maybe like 15, 16 hours to 8 hours. Generally, that's a short amount of time to kind of pack in all of your calories. So overall, your eating window is going to be shorter, and generally this translates to less calories over the entire day. And there was one other point I wanted to make. Yeah, there's other things that are going on there too. Fasting, so a reduction in eating overall, so like less calories, actually equates to kind of less oxidative stress on your body, right? So we eat, metabolic reactions happen, and just like with manufacturing, like energy comes in and energy and waste goes out, and that's what happens in our body, in our cells. So energy comes in from food, then from that we are creating kind of waste, and that waste can actually be inflammatory. And so if we're overall reducing the amount of calories that we're eating, then that's going to translate to health benefits. That's where we start to see longer lives, because that's equating to less oxidative stress. I hope that makes sense. A couple others here. Um, Okay, here's a good one. Why do drinks that are so similar to water, like LaCroix and bubbly, not count as water intake? I understand the reason why. I Oh, I lost that question. Oh, here we go. Sorry about that. I understand the reason why for the others, beer, coffee, sports drinks. Um, this, what do I want to say about this? So I think LaCroix and bubbly, if you're somebody who's like not drinking any water at all, right? I think LaCroix and bubbly can be a good kind of like gateway water drink. So I don't think it's like good or bad. So if you're somebody who's really transitioning from a standard American diet to one that's more kind of like whole foods based, I think LaCroix and bubbly are absolutely fine. Or if you're somebody who drinks a lot of pop or soda, then I think switching to LaCroix and bubbly is definitely a better option. I hope that answers your question. Somebody asked, if you don't need to lose weight but have type 2 diabetes, what is the best diet to do? Would intermittent fasting keto with an increase in healthy fats be okay to lower blood sugar and insulin? Now, this is a very personalized, it would need to be a very personalized answer. So what I would recommend for the person who typed in this question is to check out the screen, maybe take a screenshot and get a hold of our customer service team to sign up for a free 15-minute consultation. Okay. And I think with that, I think that's all the time that we have for today. I really appreciate everyone being here, and be checking in your emails for a rerun of this if you're interested. Thanks so much.